theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Good afternoon, Suzy Wrong.
Hi Warren, are you or have you ever been a romantic person?
Oh, I'm so romantic, Suzy. I love it. I love it. I hate this casual stuff that goes on that I do. I love romance. I think it's brilliant. Yeah. Did you think I wasn't?
I didn't know, which is why I asked you. Because my question is,
Are you?
Do you outgrow it?
No, I think it's getting more intense for me.
Well,
I think as you get older, well, certainly for me, I want more. More!
That's interesting.
I love romance and intimacy. I think it's the best thing. And the older I've got, the more I'm craving it. There you go. Tell me about What about you?
I remember being very romantically inclined in my younger years, but not so much these days. But I don't know if it's out of necessity because, you know, when I was young, I was a gay man, and then now I am an older trans woman, which, you know, sometimes I think it's because there are just no opportunities for me, and therefore I've kind of turned off the romance button. Or sometimes I wonder if that's the case, or one day if I've just kind of got outgrown it. Like, you know, I don't think I miss it. I don't think I miss it, yeah.
But romance, I mean, I wonder how you'd feel, like experiencing romance as a gay man and then as a trans woman. Would you experience it differently?
I have never really experienced it as a trans woman. A little bit sad, I guess. But I would imagine that it's a little bit different. I think, I can see myself playing into kind of these like gender stereotypes of what you expect a man to do for you and what you expect yourself to be able to provide a man. I think I probably would fall into those traps. But I don't know. It's never happened to me. I don't say no. I keep that door open. I'm asking this question because I was watching this movie, which is so intensely romantic, and much as I could appreciate what was going on, I did feel myself unable to connect with it on that level.
Suzy, it's interesting we talk about this because I was with a friend on the weekend and we opened one of those hideous apps, the connecting dating apps, and of course the gay one. And there was lots of stuff saying looking for trans. And I said, isn't this great that people are putting this on there? So I reckon, Suzy, there's romance out there. We could just, we just have to get it happening.
Let's get to the main event. Leave me alone.
I love it. I think it's great. That can be our goal for the year. Let's get Suzy Wrong to have.
Look, my experience is that men are beginning to open to possibly having meaningful relationships with trans women. But I find that these men are very young, and at the moment, I just feel like that's a little bit awkward for me. Maybe it's something that I need to kind of get my head around. I don't know. I'm in no rush. If it happens, great.
And when it happens, you need to issue a warning that, of course, you'll be sharing the experience with hundreds of thousands of people every Tuesday. To get them to sign one of those waivers. Now, we're talking about the film All the Colours of the World, between black and white. What's it about, Suzy?
Nigeria is one of many countries where homosexuality is punishable by law. This of course doesn't mean that LGBTQ people do not exist just because of the state's disapproval. In the movie All the Colours of the World Are Between Black and White, now streaming as part of the Mardi Gras Film Festival, we see two gay men in Lagos very much alive. It is the subtlest of romances between Bambino and Bawa. From the moment of their very first meeting, nothing is ever allowed to be expressed in the open, just coded language and an unmissable feeling of tenderness and mutual attraction. The film is a quiet affair, but full of tension. Secrecy and the threat of persecution is a big part of the story. For those of us who have experienced queer life undercover, this is all painfully familiar. There is an inevitable lingering sadness, but more prominent is the sweetness between the two black men in All the Colours. I was reminded of of the legendary Wong Kar-wai masterpiece from the year 2000, In the Mood for Love, in which two characters flirt with forbidden love, never able to speak their truths, forever swirling amongst a waltz refrain. All the Colors too features music in 3/4 time, repeating throughout, full of longing and melancholy. We want wonderful things for Bambino and Bawa, but we don't really know how that is going to be possible in a place where queer people are imprisoned, flogged and killed. Politics is a persistent presence behind every frame of this movie. Filmmaker Babatunde Apalowo brings extraordinary sensitivity and thoughtfulness to his directorial debut. Not only very stylish, it is highly intelligent, truthful and sincere. The cinematography is extremely elegant and all the acting is great. It is clearly made on a small budget, but All the Colors of the World Are Between Black and White is top-notch filmmaking and a must-see for those with an interest in queer and art house movies. Go to queerscreen.com.au to catch it. Warren, it's not one that you can watch while scrolling on your phone. I hope you found 90 minutes of quiet time for it.
I did find 90 minutes of quiet time for it. So it's a Nigerian production, which was really interesting. I did like it. I liked seeing, it's a society, obviously. I don't know what it's like over there, and I can't imagine what it's like being in this society in Lagos where I suppose this intolerance and this fear of difference is so strong that I found it hard to, I suppose, connect. It was almost like it was a completely different world, a world away from what we're used to, and we're in such a lucky, privileged situation here. But I found it a little bit confronting, Suzy, to be honest with you. I think, the poverty is quite real. Like, you see it and people begging for money, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in the background and you've got to pay attention to it. I think there was, I don't want to spoil it, but there was someone had stolen something from a street vendor, and you hear quietly in the background, "Oh my God, they're pouring petrol," and then boom, you see flames in the background. I was really confronted by all of this. I don't know how far it is away from reality over there in Nigeria, but I found it a little bit distressing to watch, to be honest with you.
It's a real eye-opener. I think we are really reminded of what, other queer people's lives are like. I remember the last time, how many years ago now when we were debating on same-sex marriage in Australia, and then we had, some people kind of saying that, oh my goodness, what a privileged position we are to be having this discussion where in other countries, the threat of losing your life is real and everyday. And in this film, we see that. And I think it is important that we see that and not forget that people who are who are actually very similar to us, and I think we can consider them siblings in a way, that we are connected in that way and live in such difficult situations. And the magic of this film is that it even got made at all, because clearly this film is not going to be screened or shown in Nigeria, but it's wonderful that it got made. Like, we don't really know. I tried to do a bit of research on Google, but I couldn't find a lot of information. But the director obviously is Nigerian, but I think he lives and works in England, and he made this first feature in Nigeria so that we are able to see and have a sense of the place, see the temperature, the heat of the place and everything. And I think that's a real eye opener. And obviously the violence that is implied and sometimes shown in the film is all very important. But I think those things were not their main concern.
No.
I think they had to show those things so that we understand what's happening with these two men. And he does go very deeply into that intimate space of of forbidden love, and I just think that is so beautifully done, and we are really benefit so much from seeing that reality.
Exactly, and we need to know what it's like in other countries and not necessarily take what we have got for granted. Something else in it, he does at one stage a Google search. How do I know if I'm, and obviously the next word is going to be gay. You don't necessarily see that. And I was thinking after that, wow, I wonder, did I ever get to a point where I thought, maybe I'm gay? And I was trying to go back in my little filing cabinet of memories, and I feel like, I don't know, I must have been so young, because I'm sure even at 13 I remember thinking, no, I'm definitely attracted to men. So, or to boys. So I knew I never had that question. And at school, at primary school, I remember kids coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Warren, you're gay," and I was like, "Oh, am I? What's that? What does that mean?"
Yeah, I think that's very similar to my experience. I had a cousin who kind of, had this insulting tone of using the word homosexual at me when I was maybe 5 years old, and obviously not knowing what it meant. I knew that it was a terrible thing to be said from the tone. And then I had a little dictionary. I went looking for it, and I think that was my first encounter with that word and that concept. I wish he used the word transgender at me at that time. It would have saved me 2 decades. But the word was homosexual, and I thought that was close to what I was experiencing, and that was how I discovered, I guess, my own queerness, in a very, very difficult way. But this is what we do, right? As people who do things in the media, is to make sure that people hear about ourselves, our lives in positive ways, so that the child in your car who might be listening now, if something resonates with them, that it resonates in a positive way, rather than than what we experienced in the 70s.
That's true. It's interesting though that you and I had a very similar experience, in that the other kids told us about our sexuality before we even knew about it. I think that's quite funny now when I look back at it. At the time, what is it? What do you mean? And I was like, I didn't even look it up in the dictionary. I think someone told me what it meant. But at the time that they told me I was gay, I wasn't sexually active, so it just didn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? But I thought, yeah, I suppose I do, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, but somehow even though you didn't have these kind of sexual urges, but somehow you understood, right? Like, you understood very, very clearly, like, how my mother is supposed to feel for my father. I understand that. I didn't quite understand how my father felt about my mother in a sexual way. I couldn't relate to that. So somehow it is sort of a fundamental part for many of us. And even though you might not be sexually active, that there is a resonance that happens very early for most of us, I must say. I don't think it happens for everyone, but for many of us it does. Yeah.
Now, Suzy, just back to the film. All the colours of the world are between black and white. Something that I thought about in there, I thought it's such a shame that Nigeria has these horrible laws, and it's, there is this intolerance of difference and of homosexuality, because looking at it, I thought, I want to go there. I want to eat the street food. I mean, that's something I love when I go to Asia, is just going out and eating the food on the street and exploring the culture. I mean, I was attracted to it in that respect. I thought, I really wish we could go there and experience it, because, and how much are they missing out of in terms of tourism and all this extra money, because people like me would go there. I would eat up. I'd come back twice the size.
I, as a trans woman, I'm much more aware of this. There's so few countries in the world that I can actually just kind of go through with my passport and not worry about anything. Like, the vast majority of places, just standing with my passport in that customs line is terrifying. So there are many places that I won't be able to visit even. And it is good that this film, gives us a taste of other places, the good and the bad of it. I highly recommend the film. You have one more week to catch it in the Mardi Gras Film Festival. I think it's such a real eye opener, and the romantic side of it, I think, was beautifully done. Even though, like I said, I might not personally understand it, but it was good to see how, I guess what it is was just two grown men, and in our sort of media black men are portrayed in such kind of hyper masculinized way that we don't see them staring longingly into each other's eyes. It was such interesting imagery, as a movie kind of thing, just watching images, just two big black men being really tender with each other and having all these things speak through their eyes. I've never seen that before, and I think in that way this film is incredibly special.
Suzy, our goal now is on this segment is to get someone staring into your eyes. We're going to do it. We're going to find it. I can't wait.
This is radio. Nobody can see anyone staring into my eyes.
We'll post it on on social media. I love it. No conversation, just staring at each other. It'd be beautiful. Suzy, love chatting to you. What is our what are we going to be talking about next week?
Bottoms is streaming on Amazon Prime Video. It is an absurdist comedy about teenage lesbians trying to get laid. I want to say the title again. It's Bottoms. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Suzy. That's Suzy Wrong.